Many thanks for staying with us, everyone. Let's get started with the issue of the anti-corruption fight of the Buhari government. For a moment, a lot of people, when President Muhammadu Buhari at his inauguration in 2015, May, specifically the 29th, he said that he's going to fight corruption. Well, and he's also said that he's aware that corruption may be fighting back. But again, a lot of people waited, breathlessly, of course, to see how he's going to fight corruption. He started by the arms procurement fund and the allegations of the embezzlement and the fraud allegations that came on the NSA office. A lot of prosecution has been going on that one until recently, when there was an investigation on the office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, the man really in charge of it, the allegations of the fact that some monies meant for grass cutting was not used. That in fact, that contract was not implemented. Where the Senate panel, headed by Senator Shehu Sani, looked into it and said that the SGF is guilty, that the president should drop him as the SGF. But the president written back to the National Assembly to say he cannot act on the report of the panel because it says that report is in fact interim. Again, the Senate has rejected the nomination of Mr. Ibrahim Magu as the AFCC chairman, stating security reasons and report from the DSS. The president has written back that it investigated and the man is fit to be the chairman of the EFCC. Let's get started with all of this controversy because the world attention has now been on that matter. What will President Muhammadu Buhari do from this point? And when that report was read, Senator Shehu Sani stood up to say the content of the report is all but a lie. Let's begin with the conversation with a member of the Presidential Committee Against Anti-Corruption, Professor Femi Odekunle, who is in our Abuja studio. Many thanks, Prof. You've been here for several minutes. Thank you so much for staying with us and coming on the program. Let's start by asking you. You are a member of that committee for over a year now that I know that committee has been constituted. Do you think that the Buhari government is on track and the corruption fight is still active and alive?
Thank you, Shehu. I would say that the anti-corruption fight is on track. A lot of things are going on that may not be known to the general public. But I would say there are two levels. There is the policy level for which the advisory committee is responsible most of the time, along with the office of the Attorney General and other bodies. And then, of course, there is the operational level, which will encapsulate the law enforcement agencies, the anti-corruption agencies like the ICPC, the EFCC. And from the activities of those two major agencies, you see that there are many cases being prosecuted and are in court. And now, of course, we are in a democracy, and to that extent, you have to leave matters to the judiciary to handle whatever cases are brought before them. But on the policy level, the advisory committee, as well as the office of the Attorney General, have been making a lot of input. Towards the end of last year, we did do a roadshow in Abuja with members of the press, with members of civil society organizations, with labor, to let them know the amount of work the advisory committee has done to enable the anti-corruption, to advise the presidency and enable the anti-corruption agencies to do their work in terms of a change in orientation, in terms of a paradigm shift in their conception of corruption, in the area of corruption, in terms of enabling them and their staff, particularly operational staff, to deal with corruption more effectively than hitherto. To that extent, notwithstanding certain recent events, I would say that the government, this government's commitment to the fight against corruption is in track. I gave you a caveat. I said, notwithstanding recent events, one can see when you take the whole matter as a whole and what the anti-corruption agency has been able to do in the last 1 year, I would say the fight against corruption is on track. I mean, certain bills in the National Assembly are being reinvigorated. You never heard of Malabo. You thought it was a dead matter. See what has happened. You've heard about the judges, which has never happened in this country. See what has happened. And see what happened with the case of the Dasuki Gate, and a number of people who are being sucked in by the day. This is not a question of, it's not a matter of pressing a computer and then you are getting results. It takes time. And remember, we are not in a military situation, in a military administration. We are in a democracy in which people have insisted, particularly the lawyers, particularly the senior lawyers, have insisted on the rule of law, on human rights, even though they do so only when it comes to the elites and not when it comes to the general population. But nonetheless, we have to abide by the demands of democracy. We have to abide by the demands of the rule of law as it is until they are fundamentally altered. As a social scientist, a criminologist, I'm one of those who have said that the current system, the current inherited colonial system of justice administration cannot do for the species of crime called corruption. And I insist on that, and I'm convinced about that, and I've written papers to argue that the inherited legal system, as well as the whole of legal profession, is essentially a fundamental obstacle in the fight against corruption.
All right, Prof, let me quickly ask you.
Into consideration when you are evaluating this administration's fight against corruption.
If I may quickly button here, and just that you're waiting on this, you said notwithstanding the situation on the ground. Well, one of the situations is the fact that a lot of people are speaking about the seriousness of the federal government. Some people have said, Serap had written today an open letter to the president to urgently publish the outcome of the investigation conducted on the matter by the Attorney General of the Federation, to ask Mr. Malami to hand over the file to both the EFCC and the ICPC. Other people have asked, is Mr. Ibrahim Magu the only person? And the issue of the report or the letter about the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, some people will say, what effect does that have, for example, on the integrity, on the anti-corruption integrity of the president? Some people will say, in other crimes, the SGF by now should have stepped aside.
Okay, thank you. On those two recent events, I have the following to say. One, on the matter of Magu, immediately the Senate sent signals of rejection. I can authoritatively tell you that the anti-corruption, that the PACAC, that's the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, quickly examined, because fortunately we were having a sitting at that time, examine the circumstances, examine what was available to us, and we wrote an advisory to the president that this man, in the last 1 year that he has been acting, has actually been committed and been diligent, and that to remove him, particularly with all the cases we have in court, with all the shenanigans of the senators, with certain cabal individuals, withdrawing this man now will only dent the anti-corruption fight. And our advice was that the president should actually resubmit his name. On a personal note, I've been on a program in which I argued that the allegations against Magu is not that they found some millions of dollars or naira under his bedroom, or that he had property all over the country, or that he had forex with the CBN or whatever. Meaning that the allegation against him seemed to be looking for, seemed to be calling a dog a bad name just to hang him. And I concluded in my own analysis that it seemed like a conspiracy from the pit of hell to make sure that the man is not confirmed. I also pointed out that there are 3 possibilities that could have explained the situation, and none of them go for the president or the presidency. One, either the presidency did not do the diligence before nominating the man, or the presidency itself is a conspirator in making sure the man was not, that his nomination was frustrated, or thirdly, the presidency was not in control of his administration.